We've used the term a compelling option many times before, though we were talking about PPVs, compact crossovers, compact sedans, hatchbacks, though I don't think we've ever used the term on a mid-size crossover before because, well, to be frank, the options and most definitely the price, the difference is, well, quite marginal. That is, of course, until now. Meet that option, the 2025 Kia Sorento, and for the first time in 23 years, a hybrid. Mid-size crossovers are one of my favorite categories because it combines drive, comfort, space, and refinement all in a package that includes my family. Their prices, however, well, don't necessarily translate all too well to consumers. From our comparison tool, take for instance the spacious Explorer. That's a hair under 3.5 million Philippine pesos. Jack's current favorite, the engaging Santa Fe, a bit better at 3,330,000 Philippine pesos for the hybrid. The on-point driving capabilities of the CX-9 bests the three at under 3 million Philippine pesos. Now, I'm not saying those cars don't command those prices. Those cars are good, but really, so is this. And this top-of-the-line SX undercuts all those cars, hybrid or not, at 2,888,000 Philippine pesos. The fourth generation Kia Sorento features a refined exterior design with subtle yet impactful elements. The tiger nose front grille has been updated for a more modern look, which are accompanied by sleeker LED headlamps and really sharp DRLs. The broad look on its side profile is enhanced by quite large doors and windows with sufficient accents. The wheels aren't exactly going to win any beauty competitions, but they are 19s on 235/55 Continentals, housing disc brakes behind each one, and sits sufficiently on 174 millimeters of ground clearance. Redesigned taillights stand out very well, and so does the mid-level lip just under the rear glass. In front of the power tailgate sits 357 liters of space behind the third row, more than sufficient for golf bags, strollers, or small luggage. Fold that and it's over 1,000 liters of space with a flat lip and bed for easy loading, which, if needed, can expand to a whopping 2,139 liters of space with a touch of a button. Crazy long, you could fit a lounge chair in there. All variants of the Sorento come equipped with a 1.6-liter turbocharged gasoline engine mated to a 6-speed automatic transmission. All variants of the Sorento come with a similar hybrid system that has a combined output of 232 horses and 367 Newton-meters of torque. More importantly though, that means that the base model Sorento comes with a hybrid system, and that is only priced at under 2,200,000 Philippine pesos. This top of the line, however, this has an all-wheel drive system. The thing that baffles me is this car's fuel efficiency. So I do understand that BYD's DMI technology is currently unmatched, but hear me out. Over the weekend, Friday, mind you, Carmageddon Friday, I took this car out and was able to do 11.5 kilometers per liter. That's inside the city with an all-wheel drive system. On the highway, sure, expected 18.5 kilometers per liter. But in the city, with an all-wheel drive system and a car that weighs 2,640 kilos, man, 11.5 is just, dude. Now, while getting to the rear seat is ridiculously easy thanks to a push of a button found on the second row, it's the seating of the third row that is not so great. Now, your leg room is obviously going to depend on how generous the second row is feeling, but if they need to stretch their legs, then there's really barely any leg room here. The seat material is good, but look at how low the seats are, and look at the gap between my thighs and the seat. There's no support whatsoever. I will say this though, that on either side are air vents, which is very nice. I've got the air running right now. It's nice. You've got air controls. You can control the amount of air that flows through. And you also have a 12-volt socket to use as a charging point. No USBs, but there is a 12-volt socket if you need that in a pinch. The second row will obviously be infinitely better. Yes, of course. That is not even my normal driving position. That's EJ's driving position, and he's about, what, 4 inches taller than me. So, like I said before, these are on rails, so it depends on how generous you want to be for the third row. But here, look at that. That is a great amount of leg room. Can stretch out. Headroom is great, even though that there is a what we call bubong mayaman. I don't know. We just came up with that term. I have no idea why. Toys back here include a center armrest with 2 cup holders. In front, you have 2 air vents, and underneath that, a 12-volt socket. If you need USB charging points in the form of Type C, there are some on the backrests of the 2 front passengers. Also, if you want more space for the king of the road, so to speak, you have controls here to move the seat forward ever so easily. Now, there are also cubby holders, or rather cup holders, on either door, and bottle holders just underneath. The weird thing is that although you have air vents back here, you don't have air controls. You can't manipulate the blower, so that falls onto the driver or the front passenger, which I wish I had more control for it back here. But nevertheless, it's very comfortable back here. The bolsterings are not so much that seniors will have a hard time getting in and out of the vehicle. It's quite comfortable, and yeah, I see myself being driven a lot inside this car, which is really great. Now, the front seats are very comfortable, I might add. They're both powered and both cooled, by the way, which I absolutely love. Your instrument cluster is a 12.3-inch screen. It's very basic, quite Spartan, really, but I do appreciate that it's very, very easy to manipulate. Your infotainment is also a 12.3-inch screen, colored infotainment system with Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, both of them wireless, by the way. Menus are really easy to get to, and then the 12-speaker Bose system in here is absolutely amazing. This is for the titos and titas out there that if you ever step inside this car, Nalin and Kane's beach ball, fantastic. Even Earl agrees. And we never agree on anything. Directly underneath, you find the panel for the air and audio controls. Now, it switches from air and audio with a touch of a screen, and it also has physical buttons. So, for those people looking for physical buttons and a touchscreen at the same time, this is a good, very good middle ground. This system is the same one found on the EV6, so works very well. Unfortunately, there is a lot of piano black found inside this car, which I do not appreciate at all. But I do appreciate that when you open her up, is a large cubby hole that has Type-C charging points and also a wireless charger. Behind that, you have your drive knob and then your drive modes and terrain modes. Now, I figured that the terrain mode won't be manipulated as much because there is snow, mud, and sand. I figure that it's the drive mode that you're going to touch most, which is Eco, Sport, and Smart. Smart, by the way, inside this vehicle is also the same as found in the Santa Fe, which is to say that when you put it in Smart, it just basically figures out your driving style and then adjusts accordingly to be able to regenerate as much power back into the system. The steering wheel has buttons up the wazoo to control your cruise, your audio, and manipulate your drive computer in the center. And also, because this is the SX top of the line, it goes without saying that this thing is brimful of advanced driver assist systems like rear and front collision warnings and blind spot monitoring and so on. But it's the steering feel that I feel will cause a lot of conversations, which I want to get to right now while we go on a drive. But before we do, please consider subscribing to our channel because we need all of you guys to help us pay for Earl's gambling debts.
No problem.
So, the steering. What's happened is that the steering is driven by an electric motor. In others, it's still hydraulic. So what that has done is that it kind of gives less feedback to the driver. It's very light, it feels like a toy. But there is good reason for this system, which is EVMC. Electrification vehicle motion control improves ride comfort and stability by bettering the responsiveness at the start of cornering, safety upon exit of corners, evasive handling, stabilizing the vehicle afterwards, and even pitch behavior. But don't think about pushing this vehicle to its limits. It is a mid-size crossover, a seven-seater at that, albeit it is, yes, an all-wheel drive system, but this is meant to be a family slash executive vehicle. So don't naman drive it like a bat out of hell. All of these systems are there to keep you safe, not so that you can make the car fly. Get me? The engine, the motor, the suspension, and the transmission all work very well together. It is very, very good. It is, however, going to be a large departure from those used to the Sorento with a diesel engine. Now, this has under 400 newton meters of torque, while the diesel engine had more than 400 newton meters of torque. However, I will argue that when you had the diesel engine, there was still the spooling of the turbo. You step on the accelerator and there's a little bit of lag before it really punches you and you keep going and going and going, which was great. In here, there's less torque, but it is like this, immediate. Whee! Now, while driving, fatigue isn't an issue at all. Heck, fatigue isn't even an issue for Earl, who's a passenger. The car has got good girth, and because the bolsterings aren't too close together, it gives you a, well, shall we say, an American crossover feel. It's very large, and large is not just the car itself, but even this windshield is huge. In fact, this thing has so much real estate, my wife had to remind me to put on sunscreen because of the amount of light coming in, and she's right. Visibility is awesome, though. So obviously you're not going to hear anything from the motor, but the engine, the road noise, and the wind noise are suppressed very, very well. It does a good job of keeping the cabin quiet. It's not exactly hermetically sealed. No, I don't think any car is, but it's pretty good. It's pretty quiet. That is, of course, until you pump up the Paul Van Dyke. No budget. Oh, we don't have budget. I've gone back and forth on this because I do know that the kissing cousin of this car is essentially the Santa Fe. That is Jack's favorite, and I understand why, because it's got more rugged appeal to it, it's boxier, it just really has a younger feel to it. Now, I'm not saying that the Sorento is older, I just feel as if that the design of this is a lot classier. And cheaper, I might add. Now, as I mentioned earlier, terrain modes are most definitely available, but I have a feeling that most buyers won't necessarily manipulate that, but they will the drive mode. So you've got eco when you're feeling green, you've got sport when you need more power, and my favorite, which is smart. And like as I mentioned earlier, it really just takes note of how you're driving and then it adjusts the way that it regenerates power back into your system. So in short, this thing is basically watching. All kidding aside, we bring it back to our original statement, a compelling option, because that's exactly what the 2025 Kia Sorento is. It's quick, it's comfortable, it's spacious, and it's, my God, redonkulously fuel efficient. I am not trying to ram this car down your throats. There are definitely things here and there that the competition does better. You know that and I know that. But if you're looking for a mid-size crossover that is a hybrid that ticks a hell of a lot of boxes, including price. Woo!